The rich aroma of freshly ground coffee beans filled the air as Lily Foster wiped down the counter of her little coffee shop for the third time that morning. She wasn't normally this anxious about cleanliness, but for some reason, today felt different. Perhaps it was because she knew he would be arriving soon, the mysterious man in the tailored suit, who had been coming in every morning for the past 3 weeks, ordering the same thing: an Americano with an extra shot and a blueberry scone. Lily glanced at the vintage clock hanging on the exposed brick wall. It was 7:58 a.m. He always arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. Her coffee shop, Beans and Dreams, had been her life's work. After inheriting a small sum from her grandmother 5 years ago, she had poured every penny into this place, a cozy corner establishment in downtown Portland with mismatched furniture, local artwork, and the best coffee in town, if the regulars were to be believed. The bell above the door chimed and Lily's heart skipped a beat. She looked up, but it was only Mrs. Henderson, one of her regular morning customers. "Good morning, Lily dear," the older woman greeted, her gray curls bouncing as she walked. "Morning, Mrs. Henderson." "The usual." Lily smiled, already reaching for a ceramic mug. The elderly woman always ordered a cappuccino with a sprinkle of cinnamon. "You know me too well." As Lily prepared the drink, the bell chimed again. This time, when she looked up, her breath caught in her throat. There he was. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd run his fingers through it just before entering. His jaw was strong, clean-shaven, and his eyes, those piercing gray eyes, immediately found hers. Gavin Thornton was not what most people pictured when they thought of a billionaire. He wasn't flashy or arrogant. In fact, if it weren't for the perfectly tailored suits and the sleek watch that probably cost more than her annual rent, one might mistake him for just another handsome businessman on his way to work. "Good morning," he said, his voice deep and smooth as he approached the counter. Lily tucked a strand of her auburn hair behind her ear. "Good morning. Americano with an extra shot and a blueberry scone," he smiled, a small crease forming at the corner of his eyes. "You remembered." "It's not hard when you order the same thing every day," she replied, trying to sound casual as she rang up his order. Gavin reached for his wallet, his movements deliberate and confident. "I'm a creature of habit, I suppose." As Lily handed him his change, their fingers brushed, and she felt a jolt of electricity run up her arm. She quickly pulled her hand back, almost dropping the coins in the process. "Sorry," she mumbled, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. Gavin's expression was unreadable as he slipped the change into the tip jar. "No need to apologize." Lily turned away, focusing on preparing his coffee. She could feel his eyes on her, watching her every move. It was unnerving yet thrilling at the same time. "Here you go," she said, handing him the coffee and bagged scone. "Enjoy." "Actually," Gavin said, hesitating for a moment, "I was wondering if you might join me, just for a few minutes, if you're not too busy." Lily blinked in surprise. In the 3 weeks he'd been coming to her shop, this was the first time he'd suggested anything beyond their usual brief exchange. "Oh, I don't usually take breaks during the morning rush," she replied, gesturing to the now forming line behind him. Gavin nodded, understanding but not deterred. "Another time, perhaps." Before Lily could respond, he moved away to his usual corner table, leaving her to attend to the growing queue of customers. As she prepared one order after another, she couldn't help but steal glances at him. He was reading something on his tablet, occasionally sipping his coffee. There was something different about him today, something almost vulnerable beneath that polished exterior. The morning rush eventually subsided, and Lily found herself with a rare moment of quiet. She glanced over at Gavin's table, only to find it empty. He had left without saying goodbye, but that wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the small business card sitting on the table, tucked beneath his empty coffee cup. Curious, Lily walked over and picked it up. It was a simple white card with embossed black text. Gavin Thornton Enterprises CEO and founder. Beneath his name and title was a phone number, handwritten in black ink. Lily turned the card over. On the back, in the same handwriting, was a brief note. Dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Text me if you're interested. Lily stared at the card, her heart racing. A billionaire CEO had just asked her out. This wasn't something that happened in her reality. Men like Gavin Thornton dated supermodels or socialites, not coffee shop owners with flour-dusted aprons and perpetually caffeine-stained fingers. Yet here was his card, his invitation. "What's that?" asked Mia, Lily's assistant, peering over her shoulder. Lily quickly tucked the card into her pocket. "Nothing, just a business card someone left behind." Mia raised an eyebrow but didn't press the issue. "If you say so. By the way, we're almost out of oat milk." Lily nodded, grateful for the distraction. "I'll put in an order right away." As the day progressed, Lily tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to Gavin's invitation. By closing time, she had taken the card out of her pocket at least a dozen times, debating whether to text him or not. "Go for it," Mia encouraged as they cleaned up for the day. "What's the worst that could happen? He could be a serial killer," Lily joked weakly. Mia rolled her eyes. "Yeah, a serial killer who wears $1,000 suits and leaves his business card with his real name and company. Very stealthy." Lily sighed. "It's not that simple. Men like him. They live in a different world." "All the more reason to check it out," Mia countered. "Live a little, boss." After Mia left, Lily sat alone in her dimly lit coffee shop, the card in her hand. Finally, taking a deep breath, she pulled out her phone and typed a message. "This is Lily from Beans and Dreams. I'll meet you for dinner at 7. She hit send before she could change her mind, then immediately regretted it. What was she thinking? She had nothing to wear, her hair was a mess, and she probably smelled like coffee grounds. She was about to text again to cancel when her phone buzzed with a reply. "I'll pick you up at the coffee shop. Looking forward to it." Too late now, Lily thought. She had exactly 2 hours to transform herself from a disheveled coffee shop owner into someone worthy of dining with a billionaire. Rushing home to her small apartment above the coffee shop, Lily dove into her closet, frantically searching for something appropriate. She finally settled on a simple black dress, the only one she owned that wasn't casual or coffee-stained, and a pair of seldom-worn heels. She showered, blow-dried her hair, and applied makeup with a shaking hand. By the time 7 p.m. rolled around, Lily was standing nervously outside her coffee shop, feeling both overdressed and underdressed simultaneously. A sleek black car pulled up to the curb, and her heart nearly stopped when Gavin stepped out. He was wearing a navy suit that fit him perfectly, making him look even more handsome than he had that morning. "You look beautiful," he said, his eyes taking her in with undisguised appreciation. "Thank you," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "You clean up pretty well yourself." Gavin smiled and opened the car door for her. As she slid into the leather seat, Lily couldn't help but wonder what she had gotten herself into. The restaurant Gavin took her to was unlike anywhere Lily had ever been. It was on the top floor of a high-rise building, with glass walls that offered panoramic views of the city. The maitre d' greeted Gavin by name and led them to a secluded table by the window. "I hope you like seafood," Gavin said as they sat down. "This place has the best in the city." "I love seafood," Lily replied, trying not to look overwhelmed by the opulent surroundings. "Though I usually get mine from food trucks." Gavin laughed, a genuine sound that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. Food trucks often have the best food. No pretense, just good ingredients prepared well. Lily relaxed a bit. Maybe this wouldn't be as awkward as she had feared. The waiter brought them a bottle of wine that Lily was sure cost more than her weekly grocery budget. As they sipped, Gavin asked about her coffee shop, showing genuine interest in how she had started it and what challenges she faced. It was always my dream, Lily explained, warming to the subject. My grandmother was a baker, and I grew up helping her in the kitchen. When she passed away, she left me enough money to start something small. I combined my love for her pastries with my obsession with good coffee, and Beans and Dreams was born. That's impressive, Gavin said, his gaze steady on her face. Starting a business takes courage. What about you? Lily asked. Thornton Enterprises. What exactly do you do? Gavin hesitated, and for a moment Lily feared she had asked something too personal. But then he began to explain. I started in real estate development, but over the years we've diversified. Now we have interests in sustainable energy, urban planning, and historic preservation. Historic preservation, Lily perked up. That sounds fascinating. It is. We buy old buildings that would otherwise be demolished and repurpose them while preserving their character. His expression grew animated as he talked about a recent project converting an old theater into a community arts center. Lily found herself captivated, not just by what he was saying, but by the passion in his voice. This was clearly not just a business venture for him, but something he truly cared about. As they continued talking through dinner, Lily discovered that Gavin was nothing like the cold, calculating businessman she had imagined. He was thoughtful, well-read, and surprisingly down to earth. He talked about his love for hiking, his terrible cooking skills, and his rescue dog named Einstein. Why do you come to my coffee shop every day? Lily asked after they had finished dessert. Surely there are places closer to your office. Gavin smiled, a hint of shyness in his expression. The first time was by chance. I was early for a meeting and needed coffee, but I kept coming back because of you. Me? Lily's eyes widened. You have this way about you, Gavin explained. You remember everyone's names, their usual orders. You chat with the elderly couple who sits by the window every Tuesday. You give free coffee to the college students during finals week. I've never met anyone so genuinely kind. Lily felt her cheeks flush with the compliment. I just treat people the way I'd want to be treated. It's more than that, Gavin insisted. You've created a place where people feel welcome, where they want to linger. It's a gift. The evening continued with easy conversation, and by the time Gavin drove her back to her apartment, Lily felt like she had known him for years rather than hours. Outside her door, he hesitated. I had a wonderful time tonight, he said softly. So did I, Lily admitted. Gavin reached out, his fingers gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. May I see you again? Lily nodded, her heart racing at his touch. I'd like that. He leaned in slowly, giving her plenty of time to back away if she wanted. But Lily found herself moving closer, drawn to him like a magnet. His lips met hers in a gentle kiss, brief but full of promise. Good night, Lily, he whispered as he pulled away. Good night, Gavin. As she watched him walk back to his car, Lily felt like she was floating. This evening had been like something out of a dream, and she half expected to wake up at any moment. But the warmth of Gavin's kiss lingered on her lips, a tangible reminder that this was very real. The next morning, Lily arrived at her coffee shop earlier than usual. She couldn't stop smiling as she prepared for the day, replaying the previous evening in her mind. Mia noticed her boss's good mood immediately. So, I take it dinner went well, she asked with a knowing grin. Lily tried to act nonchalant. It was nice. Nice. That's all you're giving me. Come on, details. Just as Lily was about to relent and share more, the bell above the door chimed. Both women looked up to see Gavin walking in, this time with a small bouquet of wildflowers in his hand. "Good morning," he said, his eyes finding Lily's immediately. "Good morning," she replied, feeling a blush spread across her cheeks. Mia looked between them, her eyebrows raised. "I'll just go check on that thing in the back," she said, making a hasty retreat. Gavin approached the counter, extending the flowers toward Lily. "I saw these on my morning run and thought of you." Lily took the bouquet, touched by the simple yet thoughtful gesture. "They're beautiful, thank you." "Not as beautiful as you," Gavin replied. And though the line was cheesy, the sincerity in his eyes made Lily's heart flutter. Over the next few weeks, Gavin continued to come to the coffee shop every morning. But now, instead of just picking up his order and leaving, he would stay for a while, chatting with Lily whenever she had a free moment. Sometimes, he would bring his laptop and work from one of the tables, occasionally glancing up to catch her eye and smile. Their evenings together were equally delightful. Gavin took her to art galleries, jazz clubs, and hidden gem restaurants that she had never heard of. But what Lily enjoyed most were the simpler outings. Walking Einstein in the park, cooking dinner, or rather, Lily cooking while Gavin attempted to help at his penthouse apartment, or just sitting on her small balcony, talking until the stars appeared in the sky. It was during one of these quiet evenings, about a month into their relationship, that Lily first noticed something was bothering Gavin. He seemed distracted, checking his phone frequently and responding with only half his usual attention to their conversation. "Is everything okay?" Lily finally asked, placing her hand on his arm. Gavin sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry, work stuff. There's a project that's not going as planned." "Do you want to talk about it?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Remember that old theater I mentioned? The one we're converting into an arts center, of course. The city council is threatening to revoke our permits. There's a developer who wants the land for a high-rise condo, and they've been lobbying hard." His frustration was evident in the set of his jaw. "If we lose this, not only does the community lose a potential art space, but we lose our investment and the theater gets demolished." Lily squeezed his hand. "That's terrible. Is there anything you can do?" "I've tried everything I can think of. Legal appeals, community petitions, even offering to buy the developer out. But they're not budging." He looked defeated, an expression Lily had never seen on his face before. "What if you could show the council how much the community actually needs and wants this arts center?" Lily suggested. "Something tangible, not just signatures on a petition." Gavin looked at her curiously. "What do you have in mind?" "A demonstration of sorts. What if we organized an event at the theater? Invite local artists, musicians, theater groups, show the council exactly what they'd be destroying if they side with the developer." As Lily elaborated on her idea, Gavin's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. We could invite the council members, get media coverage. Make it impossible for them to ignore the cultural value of what we're trying to preserve." They stayed up late into the night, planning and strategizing. By the time they finally went to bed, Gavin seemed reinvigorated, his earlier despair replaced with determined hope. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of activity as they worked together to organize the event. Lily reached out to her extensive network of local artists and musicians who frequented her coffee shop, while Gavin handled the logistics of preparing the partially renovated theater for visitors. They made a surprisingly effective team, with Lily's creativity and community connections complementing Gavin's organizational skills and resources. The night of the event arrived, and the old theater was transformed. String lights hung from exposed beams, local artwork adorned the walls, and a temporary stage had been set up where various performers would showcase their talents throughout the evening. "I can't believe we pulled this off," Lily said, standing beside Gavin as they watched people begin to file in. She was wearing a flowing green dress that brought out the amber flecks in her eyes, and Gavin couldn't stop stealing glances at her. "We make a good team," he replied, slipping his arm around her waist. "Thank you for this, for believing in the project, for helping me find a solution." Lily leaned into his embrace. "It's a worthy cause. Plus, I got to see a side of you I hadn't before, Gavin, the community advocate. It's quite attractive." He chuckled, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Only you would find zoning disputes attractive." The evening was a resounding success. Local bands performed, artists showcased their work, and a theater group put on a short play. The city council members who attended seemed genuinely moved by the community's passion for the arts center. And by the end of the night, the council chairwoman had pulled Gavin aside to discuss a compromise that would allow the project to proceed. As the last guests departed, Lily and Gavin sat on the edge of the stage, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," Gavin said, his eyes reflecting the twinkling lights above them. "You did it, really. Without your idea, without your connections to these amazing artists, this never would have happened." Lily shook her head. "It was a team effort. Your vision for this place is what inspired everyone." Gavin took her hand, his expression suddenly serious. "Lily, these past weeks with you, they've been the happiest of my life. Before I met you, I was just going through the motions. Success, money, status, they meant something on paper, but they felt empty. You've shown me what really matters." Lily's breath caught in her throat. "Gavin, I'm not saying this because you helped with the project," he quickly added. "I'm saying it because it's true. You see the world in a way that makes me want to be better, to do more good with what I have." He leaned forward, kissing her softly. Lily felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, overwhelmed by the intensity of her feelings for this man who had walked into her coffee shop just 2 months ago. In the days that followed the successful event, Lily noticed a subtle shift in their relationship. Gavin began to include her more in conversations about his work, valuing her perspective on projects beyond just the arts center. He introduced her to his close friends, most of whom were surprisingly down to earth despite their wealth. And he spent more and more nights at her small apartment, claiming he slept better with her beside him than in his luxurious penthouse alone. One rainy Saturday afternoon, as they lounged on Lily's couch watching old movies, Gavin brought up something unexpected. "My mother's birthday is next weekend," he said casually. "There's going to be a small dinner at her house. Would you like to come with me?" Lily sat up, surprised. "You want me to meet your family, of course," Gavin replied as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "They'll love you." "But," Lily hesitated, "won't they think it's strange, you bringing someone like me?" Gavin frowned. "Someone like you, what does that mean, you know?" Lily gestured vaguely. "I'm just a coffee shop owner. Your family probably expects you to date someone more, in your league." Gavin's expression softened and he took her hands in his. "Lily Foster, you are so far out of my league it's not even funny. You're kind, talented, hardworking, and you make the best damn coffee in the city. My family will adore you because I adore you." His words melted Lily's insecurities, at least temporarily. "Okay, I'd love to meet them." The following weekend, as Gavin drove them through an upscale neighborhood to his mother's house, Lily's anxiety returned full force. The houses they passed were enormous, with manicured lawns and circular driveways. "You grew up here?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Gavin nodded. "My father was successful in finance. After he died when I was in college, my mother stayed in the family home. She likes the space for her garden." Gavin's mother's garden turned out to be a sprawling landscape of roses, hydrangeas, and perfectly trimmed hedges that surrounded a house that could only be described as a mansion. Lily felt her palms sweat as Gavin parked the car. "Just be yourself," he reassured her, squeezing her hand. "That's who I fell for, after all." Inside, they were greeted by a tall, elegant woman with silver-streaked dark hair and Gavin's same gray eyes. Margaret Thornton embraced her son warmly before turning her attention to Lily. "So this is the young woman I've been hearing so much about," she said, her gaze appraising but not unkind. "Welcome to our home, Lily." "Thank you for having me, Mrs. Thornton," Lily replied, offering the bouquet of flowers she had brought. "And happy birthday." Margaret smiled, accepting the gift. "Call me Margaret, please. And these are lovely." The evening progressed better than Lily had dared to hope. Margaret was gracious and surprisingly down to earth, sharing embarrassing stories about Gavin's childhood that had him groaning and Lily laughing. Gavin's younger sister, Claire, was equally welcoming, immediately engaging Lily in conversation about her coffee shop and offering to help with social media marketing. By the time dessert was served, a decadent chocolate cake that Margaret had apparently made herself, Lily felt almost comfortable in this world that was so different from her own. "Gavin tells me you were instrumental in saving that old theater project," Margaret commented as she poured coffee. Lily blushed. "I just suggested an approach. Gavin did all the hard work." "Don't let her fool you, Mom," Gavin interjected. "Lily organized the entire event, brought in all the talent, and charmed the council chairwoman into supporting us." Margaret smiled knowingly. "It sounds like you make a formidable team." After dinner, while Gavin and Claire cleared the table despite Lily's offers to help, Margaret invited her to see the garden. As they walked among the roses, Margaret spoke candidly. "I've never seen my son like this before," she said. "He's always been driven, focused on his work to the exclusion of almost everything else. But since he met you, there's a lightness to him, a joy that hasn't been there in years." Lily didn't know how to respond, touched by the observation. "I just want you to know," Margaret continued, "that despite what you might think, all I've ever wanted for Gavin is for him to be happy, and you clearly make him very happy." "He makes me happy too," Lily admitted softly. "Happier than I ever thought possible." Margaret nodded, seemingly satisfied. "Then that's all that matters." When they returned inside, Lily found Gavin waiting for them, a fond smile on his face as he watched his mother and girlfriend approach arm in arm. In that moment, something shifted in Lily's heart, a realization that perhaps their different worlds weren't so incompatible after all. The next few months passed in a blur of happiness for Lily and Gavin. Their relationship deepened, each discovering new layers to the other with every passing day. Gavin surprised Lily by learning how to make latte art, though his attempts were hilariously bad, while Lily found herself becoming unexpectedly interested in urban planning and sustainable architecture as she learned more about Gavin's work. One particularly significant development was Gavin's decision to relocate his office to a building just 2 blocks from Beans and Dreams. He claimed it was for the convenience of being close to the best coffee in town, but Lily knew it was his way of making it easier for them to see each other during busy workdays. It was during this period that Lily first noticed the changes in her coffee shop's clientele. More business types started frequenting the place, often mentioning they'd heard about it from Gavin Thornton himself. Initially, Lily was thrilled with the increase in business, but as the weeks went by, she began to worry that the shop's original charm and community feel were being diluted. One Tuesday morning, Lily watched with a sinking heart as Mrs. Henderson, unable to find her usual table by the window, turned and left without ordering. The table had been occupied by a group of suit-wearing executives having a loud meeting over laptops and spreadsheets. When Gavin came in later that day, Lily was uncharacteristically quiet as she prepared his Americano. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. Lily hesitated, not wanting to seem ungrateful for the business he'd brought her way. "It's nothing, just a busy day." But Gavin knew her too well by now. "Lily, something's bothering you. Please tell me," she sighed, handing him his coffee. "It's just, the shop is changing. All these new customers, your colleagues and business associates, they're great for revenue, but the atmosphere is different. Mrs. Henderson couldn't find a seat today because of a business meeting happening at her usual table." Understanding dawned on Gavin's face. "I'm sorry. I didn't think about how my recommendations might affect the shop's dynamic." "It's not your fault," Lily assured him. "Growth is good. I just need to figure out how to balance it with maintaining what made this place special to begin with." Gavin was quiet for a moment, thinking, "What if you expanded? The space next door has been vacant for months. You could create a separate area specifically designed for business meetings, keeping this main room as the cozy community space it's always been." Lily blinked, surprised by the suggestion. "Expand? I don't know. That would require a significant investment and construction permits. It's a lot to take on." "I could help," Gavin offered. "Not just financially, though I'd be happy to invest. My company has experience with these kinds of renovations." "No," Lily said firmly, surprising them both with her vehemence. "I mean, I appreciate the offer, but this is my business, Gavin. I need to make it work on my own terms." A flash of hurt crossed Gavin's face, but he quickly masked it. "Of course. I understand." The conversation ended there, both of them uncomfortably aware that they'd touched on something deeper than just the coffee shop's clientele. It was the first time their different financial realities had created any real tension between them. That evening, as they walked Einstein through the park, Gavin broached the subject again. "I want to apologize for earlier. I should have realized how important it is for you to maintain your independence with the coffee shop." Lily squeezed his hand. "And I'm sorry for shutting down your suggestion so abruptly. It wasn't about you, it's just that I've worked so hard to build beans and dreams on my own. The idea of taking your money, of becoming dependent on you in that way, it scares me." "I get it," Gavin said. "And I respect it. But Lily, partnerships aren't about dependency. They're about combining strengths to create something better than either person could achieve alone." "Like with the theater project," Lily acknowledged. "Exactly. Your creativity and community connections with my resources and business experience. We made a great team there." They walked in silence for a while, Einstein trotting happily ahead of them. "I'll think about it," Lily finally said. "The expansion idea, I mean. It does make sense from a business perspective." Gavin smiled, visibly relieved that they had found a way past the awkwardness. "That's all I ask." In the days that followed, Lily did indeed think about Gavin's suggestion. She even went so far as to speak with the landlord about the vacant space and got some preliminary quotes from contractors. The numbers were daunting but not impossible, especially if she took out a small business loan. Meanwhile, Gavin was careful not to pressure her, though he occasionally mentioned relevant resources or contacts that might be helpful if she decided to move forward. It was his way of supporting without overstepping, and Lily appreciated his restraint. About 2 weeks after their initial discussion, Lily was just closing up the shop when there was a knock at the door. Through the glass, she could see Gavin standing there, a folder tucked under his arm and an oddly nervous expression on his face. She let him in, curious. "I thought we were meeting at your place later." "We are," he confirmed. "But I wanted to show you something first." He laid the folder on a table and opened it to reveal architectural drawings. Lily leaned closer, realizing they were plans for the coffee shop expansion. "Before you say anything," Gavin said quickly, "these are just ideas. I hired an architect to draw up some possibilities based on what I've heard you say you value about your space. See how this design maintains the existing shop as is, but connects it to a more modern area next door that could accommodate business meetings and larger groups." Lily studied the drawings, impressed despite herself. The design was thoughtful, preserving everything she loved about her coffee shop while addressing the space issues in a practical way. "It's beautiful," she admitted. "But Gavin, I told you, I know, he interrupted gently. "You want to do this on your own, and you can. These plans are my gift to you, no strings attached. What you do with them, how you finance the project, that's entirely up to you. I just wanted to help in a way that respects your independence." Lily looked up at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. This man, who could buy and sell buildings without blinking, had taken the time to understand what her little coffee shop meant to her, and to find a way to support her dreams without overwhelming them with his resources. "Thank you," she said softly, reaching up to kiss him. "This is perfect." The next morning, Lily woke up in Gavin's arms, feeling more at peace with their relationship than ever before. As she watched him sleep, his face relaxed and vulnerable, she realized just how deeply she had fallen in love with him. It wasn't his wealth or status that had captured her heart, but his kindness, his integrity, and his respect for her as an equal partner despite their different circumstances. Lily slipped out of bed quietly, padding to the kitchen to make coffee. Gavin's penthouse was all glass and steel, with a kitchen that would make professional chefs jealous, but Lily had made it her mission to bring warmth to the space. She'd added colorful throw pillows to the sleek sofa, placed potted plants on the windowsills, and stocked the kitchen with mismatched mugs that made Gavin smile every time he opened the cabinet. As she waited for the coffee to brew, Lily's phone buzzed with a text from Mia. "Emergency at the shop. Pipe burst in the bathroom. Everything's flooded. Called plumber but need you ASAP." Lily's heart sank. A flood was the last thing she needed, especially with her expansion plans just beginning to take shape. She quickly texted back that she was on her way, then scribbled a note for Gavin explaining the situation. By the time she arrived at Beans and Dreams, water had soaked through half the shop. Mia was frantically trying to move furniture to dry areas, while a plumber assessed the damage in the bathroom. "It's bad," the plumber told her grimly. "The pipe is ancient, and it's not just a simple fix. The whole plumbing system in this section of the building needs to be replaced." Lily felt like crying. "How much?" The figure the plumber quoted made her stomach drop. It was more than all her savings, and it would completely derail her expansion plans. "I can start the emergency work today to stop the flooding," the plumber continued, "but the full repair will take time and, well, money." Lily nodded numbly. "Do what you need to do for now." As the plumber got to work, Lily called her insurance company, only to discover that her policy had a high deductible for plumbing issues in buildings of this age. She would be responsible for most of the repair costs. Mia watched her boss with concern. "What are we going to do?" "We'll figure it out," Lily said with more confidence than she felt. "For now, let's salvage what we can and make a plan to operate with limited space until repairs are complete." They spent the next few hours moving furniture, mopping up water, and creating a makeshift service area in the dry portion of the shop. By noon, they had managed to open for limited service, though many regular customers left disappointed when they saw the reduced menu and seating. Lily was behind the counter, trying to keep up with orders despite the cramped conditions, when Gavin walked in. One look at his face told her he had received her note and understood the gravity of the situation. "How bad is it?" he asked, surveying the scene. Lily's composure finally cracked. "Bad. The plumber says the whole system needs to be replaced. Insurance won't cover much and the cost." She trailed off, blinking back tears of frustration. Gavin's expression was sympathetic but practical. "Let me help, Lily." She shook her head automatically. "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering." He placed his hands on her shoulders, his gaze steady. "This isn't about me taking over or you losing independence. It's about me supporting someone I love through a crisis." Lily froze at his words. It was the first time either of them had used the word love out loud. Gavin seemed to realize it too, because he continued more softly. "Yes, I love you, Lily Foster, and watching you struggle when I have the means to help is killing me. Please, let me do this." Lily felt the last of her resistance crumble. "I love you too," she whispered. "And, okay, just as a loan, though, I'll pay you back." Gavin smiled, relief washing over his features. "Whatever terms make you comfortable." With Gavin's help, the plumbing repairs progressed much faster than Lily had dared hope. He not only covered the costs, but also brought in a contractor he trusted to ensure the work was done properly. Within a week, the shop was dry and functional again. But Gavin didn't stop there. He suggested that, since they were already dealing with construction, it might make sense to start the expansion sooner rather than later. The idea was practical. The disruption to business was already happening, so why not consolidate the inconvenience? After careful consideration, Lily agreed. Using the architectural plans Gavin had gifted her, they began the process of expanding into the adjacent space. Lily insisted on maintaining as much control as possible, choosing finishes and furniture herself and overseeing the daily progress. Gavin respected her leadership, while providing advice when asked and handling the more complex aspects of permits and building codes. The construction took 2 months, during which Beans and Dreams operated at reduced capacity. It was a stressful time, but it brought Lily and Gavin even closer as they tackled challenges together and celebrated small victories along the way. Finally, the day came to unveil the expanded coffee shop. Lily had planned a grand reopening, inviting all her regular customers and the local community. She stood nervously at the entrance, wearing a new dress she had splurged on for the occasion, with Gavin by her side. "Ready?" he asked, squeezing her hand encouragingly. Lily took a deep breath and nodded. "Ready." The response exceeded all her expectations. Customers old and new marveled at how the expansion had preserved the cozy charm of the original shop while adding a sleek, modern section perfect for meetings and larger groups. Mrs. Henderson was delighted to find her window table waiting for her, while the business clientele appreciated the dedicated workspace with better Wi-Fi and charging stations. "You've created something remarkable here," Gavin murmured as they watched the shop buzzing with activity. "It's the perfect blend of warmth and practicality, just like you." Lily leaned into him, overwhelmed with gratitude and love. "We created it together." As the evening wound down and the last customers departed, Lily and Gavin sat at a quiet corner table, sharing a piece of celebratory cake. "I have something for you," Gavin said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box and Lily's heart began to race. "Gavin." He opened the box to reveal not a ring, as she had momentarily feared, but a key. "It's to my apartment," he explained. "I thought maybe, if you wanted, you might consider moving in with me." Lily stared at the key, a mix of emotions flooding through her. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately. She already spent most nights at his place anyway. But another part hesitated, worried about losing her independence, about being swallowed up by Gavin's world. "I understand if you're not ready," Gavin added quickly, seeing her hesitation. "There's no pressure." Lily picked up the key, turning it over in her hand. "Can I think about it?" "Of course." His smile was genuine, without a trace of disappointment. It was one of the things she loved most about him, his patience, his willingness to let her move at her own pace. That night, as Lily lay awake in her small apartment above the coffee shop, she found herself mentally cataloging her reasons for hesitating. Was it really about independence, or was it about fear? Fear that once they lived together, the differences in their lifestyles would become too apparent, too divisive. She thought about how Gavin had handled the coffee shop crisis, offering help without taking over, respecting her vision while providing practical support. She thought about how seamlessly they had collaborated on the expansion, each contributing their strengths to create something better than either could have achieved alone. Perhaps sharing a home would be the same. Not Lily being absorbed into Gavin's world, but the two of them creating a new world together. The next morning, Lily arrived at the coffee shop earlier than usual. She made herself a cappuccino and sat by the window, watching the city wake up. By the time Gavin arrived for his morning coffee, she had made her decision. "Yes," she said simply as she handed him his Americano. Gavin looked momentarily confused. "Yes, yes, I'll move in with you." Lily smiled, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. "But I have one condition." "Name it." "We redecorate together. That apartment needs more color, more life." Gavin laughed, his eyes crinkling with joy. "Deal. I never liked all that minimalist gray anyway. It was the decorator's idea, not mine." 2 weeks later, Lily packed up her small apartment and moved into Gavin's penthouse. True to their agreement, they spent weekends visiting furniture stores and art galleries, transforming the sleek, impersonal space into a warm, eclectic home that reflected both their personalities. Gavin donated his barely used kitchen equipment to a culinary school and replaced it with items Lily selected for their practicality and charm. They converted one of the guest bedrooms into a home office for Lily, where she could manage the coffee shop's accounts and experiment with new recipes. Living together brought its challenges, of course. Lily was accustomed to her independence and sometimes felt overwhelmed by the luxurious surroundings. Gavin, used to having his space to himself, had to adjust to Lily's more relaxed attitude toward tidiness. But they navigated these adjustments with humor and patience, each making compromises for the sake of their shared happiness. One unexpected joy of their new living arrangement was cooking together. Gavin was still hopeless at anything beyond basic breakfast, but he enthusiastically took on the role of sous chef, chopping vegetables and washing dishes while Lily created meals that soon had him preferring home cooking to even the finest restaurants. "My mother wants us to come for dinner next weekend," Gavin mentioned one evening as they cleaned up after a meal. "She says she misses you." Lily smiled, touched by Margaret's continued warmth toward her. "I'd love to. Your mom is amazing. She thinks the same about you." Gavin hesitated, then added, "She also mentioned that her garden club is having their annual charity auction soon. She wondered if you might donate some coffee and pastries from the shop." "Of course. I'd be happy to," Lily agreed readily. "Your mother has been so welcoming to me." "It's the least I can do." The garden club auction turned out to be a much grander affair than Lily had anticipated. Held at a country club outside the city, it attracted Portland's wealthiest and most socially prominent citizens, all dressed in their finest and bidding generously on luxury items donated by local businesses. Lily's coffee and pastry basket, beautifully arranged and including a gift card for private barista service at a dinner party, ended up selling for an amount that made her blush with embarrassment and pride. "That's more than I make in a week," she whispered to Gavin as they applauded the winning bid. "Quality commands a premium," he replied with a wink. "And your coffee is the best in the city." After the auction, Margaret introduced Lily to several of her friends, many of whom expressed interest in hiring Beans and Dreams for private events. By the end of the evening, Lily had collected half a dozen business cards and potential catering opportunities. "I think you've found a new revenue stream," Gavin observed as they drove home. "Beans and Dreams catering has a nice ring to it." Lily turned the idea over in her mind. "It could work. We already have the expanded kitchen space from the renovation. And it would bring in business during the slower evening hours. Plus, you'd be amazing at it," Gavin added. "You have a gift for creating experiences, not just serving food and drinks. People respond to that." Over the next several months, Lily carefully developed the catering side of her business, starting small with intimate dinner parties and gradually taking on larger events. The endeavor was successful beyond her expectations, and she soon found herself hiring additional staff and considering yet another expansion of the kitchen facilities. Through it all, Gavin remained her biggest supporter, offering advice when asked, but always ensuring that Beans and Dreams remained unmistakably Lily's creation. He introduced her to potential clients without being pushy, celebrated her successes without taking credit, and comforted her through inevitable setbacks without trying to fix everything himself. Their relationship deepened as they navigated the challenges of merging their lives and careers. Gavin found himself increasingly incorporating Lily's community-minded approach into his development projects, while Lily gained confidence in her business acumen, partly thanks to Gavin's mentorship. One evening, about a year after they had moved in together, Gavin surprised Lily with tickets to the symphony. It wasn't their usual kind of date. They both generally preferred jazz clubs or indie bands, but the program featured a composer Lily had once mentioned liking. "I thought we could do something different tonight," Gavin explained, looking unusually formal in a suit and tie. "And afterward, I've made reservations at that French place you've been wanting to try." Lily eyed him suspiciously. "What's the occasion?" Can a man treat his girlfriend to a nice evening without an ulterior motive? But there was something in his smile, a hint of nervousness that was uncharacteristic for the usually confident Gavin. Lily decided to play along, curious to see what he had planned. The symphony was beautiful, the restaurant exquisite. Throughout dinner, Lily caught Gavin checking his watch several times and fidgeting with something in his pocket. "Okay, what's going on?" she finally asked as they were finishing dessert. "You've been acting strange all evening." Gavin took a deep breath. "I had planned to do this later at a more scenic location, but you've always been too perceptive for your own good." He reached across the table and took her hand. "Lily, this past year has been the happiest of my life." Lily felt her heart begin to race as she realized what was happening. "Before I met you, I was successful by most measures, but something was missing. You showed me what that was: connection, purpose, the joy of building something meaningful together." Gavin slipped from his chair and, to Lily's shock and the delight of nearby diners, knelt beside the table. "I don't want to spend another day without you by my side. Lily Foster, will you marry me?" He produced a ring from his pocket, a vintage-looking emerald surrounded by small diamonds, elegant but not ostentatious. Lily's eyes filled with tears as she nodded, too overwhelmed to speak for a moment. "Yes," she finally managed. "Yes, I'll marry you." Gavin slipped the ring onto her finger with hands that trembled slightly, then rose to kiss her as the restaurant erupted in applause. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. More than I ever thought possible. I love you too, Lily replied, her heart so full she thought it might burst. Always. Later, as they walked hand in hand along the waterfront, Lily admired the way her ring caught the moonlight. It's perfect, she said. How did you know exactly what I would love? Gavin smiled sheepishly. I had some help. Your friend Mia may have pointed me in the right direction. And my mother contributed her opinion as well. Lily laughed, imagining Mia and Margaret conspiring over ring styles. I should have known those two would get along. They both love you, Gavin said simply. As do I. The next few months were a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Despite Gavin's wealth and connections, they agreed on a relatively modest ceremony, focusing on meaning rather than spectacle. They chose a date in early summer, planning to exchange vows in Margaret's garden, which would be in full bloom by then. As the wedding approached, Lily found herself unexpectedly nervous. Not about marrying Gavin, of that she was certain, but about the future they would build together. Would she always feel like an equal partner, or would his wealth and status eventually create an imbalance? Would she be able to maintain her identity as her life became more entwined with his? These concerns came to a head one evening when they were discussing the guest list. Gavin had added several business associates whom Lily had never met, including some whose development practices she found ethically questionable. Do we really need to invite the Hendersons? She asked, pointing to one such name. Aren't they the ones trying to demolish that historic neighborhood for luxury condos? Gavin sighed. Yes, but they're also major investors in several of my projects. It would be a significant slight not to include them. So business comes before principles. Lily challenged, more sharply than she intended. Gavin looked hurt. That's not fair. You know how hard I've worked to shift my company toward ethical development, but I can't burn every bridge overnight. Lily softened, realizing she was projecting her broader anxieties onto this specific issue. I'm sorry, I know you're trying to do the right thing. Gavin studied her face. This isn't really about the guest list, is it? Lily shook her head, finally voicing her deeper concerns. I'm worried about what happens after we're married. Will I still be me? Will I become just Gavin Thornton's wife in everyone's eyes? Will our different backgrounds eventually drive us apart? Gavin took her hands, his expression serious. Lily, I fell in love with you precisely because you are your own person, with your own passions and principles. The last thing I want is for marriage to change that. But it will change things, Lily insisted. That's inevitable. Yes, but change isn't necessarily bad. Gavin's thumbs traced circles on her palms. We'll grow together, influence each other in positive ways. You've already made me a better person, a better businessman. And I hope I've given you something valuable to confidence, perhaps, or a broader perspective. Lily nodded, acknowledging the truth in his words. You have. I just don't want to lose myself along the way. Then we'll make sure that doesn't happen, Gavin promised. We'll talk openly when you feel your identity is being overshadowed. We'll make decisions together as equals. And if that means the Hendersons don't come to our wedding, so be it. Lily smiled, her anxiety easing. No, invite them. But perhaps we could also invite representatives from that neighborhood preservation group. Show them both sides of the conversation matter to you. Gavin's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. A subtle message that I value community input alongside investment potential. He pulled her into his arms. See, this is why we're perfect together. You make me think beyond the bottom line. The wedding day dawned clear and warm, Margaret's garden resplendent with roses and hydrangeas. Lily spent the morning with Mia and her mother, getting ready in one of the mansion's many bedrooms. I still can't believe my daughter is marrying a billionaire, Mrs. Foster said. shaking her head in wonder as she helped Lily with her veil. "It's like something out of a fairy tale." "Mom," Lily protested, "I'm marrying Gavin because I love him, not because of his money." "Of course, dear," her mother agreed, though her tone suggested she considered the wealth a very nice bonus. "And he's a lucky man to have found you." When it was time for the ceremony, Lily's father escorted her through the garden to where Gavin waited beneath an arch of white roses. Despite all the elegant surroundings, Lily saw only Gavin's face, his eyes filled with such love that everything else faded away. Their vows were simple, but heartfelt. Gavin promised to respect her independence while offering unwavering support. Lily pledged to be his partner in all things, challenging him when needed but always standing by his side. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the small gathering of family and friends erupted in joyous applause. The reception, held on the mansion's sprawling lawn, was a perfect blend of elegance and warmth. Lily had insisted on catering it herself, or rather, having her staff handle it, with menus and preparations she had carefully planned. The food was simple but exquisite, showcasing the same attention to detail and quality that had made Beans and Dreams so successful. As the evening progressed, Lily found herself in conversation with one of Gavin's business associates, a woman named Diana who had built a successful chain of eco-friendly hotels. "Gavin tells me you've expanded into catering," Diana remarked. "Have you ever considered a more permanent collaboration with hotels or event spaces?" Lily shook her head. "I've focused on maintaining the quality of our food and service, which means keeping operations manageable." "Smart," Diana nodded approvingly. "But if you ever want to explore scaling up without sacrificing quality, I'd love to discuss possibilities. My Portland location is looking for a distinctive food service partner." Before Lily could respond, Gavin appeared at her side, slipping an arm around her waist. "Are you trying to poach my wife's talents, Diana?" he teased. "Merely suggesting a mutually beneficial collaboration," Diana replied with a smile. "You're not the only one who recognizes quality when you see it, Thornton." As Diana moved on to greet other guests, Gavin turned to Lily. "What do you think? Interested in expanding the Beans and Dreams empire even further?" Lily considered the idea. "It could be interesting, but one step at a time. Let's enjoy being married for a while before taking on new business ventures." "Agreed," Gavin said, pulling her closer. "Starting with a proper honeymoon. 2 weeks in Italy, just you and me." Their honeymoon was everything Lily had dreamed of: days spent exploring ancient cities, evenings savoring local cuisine, and nights wrapped in each other's arms. They wandered through Rome's historic streets, tasted wine in Tuscan vineyards, and lost themselves in Venice's labyrinthine canals. On their last night in Florence, as they sat on the balcony of their hotel room overlooking the Arno River, Gavin presented Lily with a small wrapped package. "A wedding gift," he explained. "I wanted to wait until we were alone to give it to you." Curious, Lily unwrapped the package to find a leather-bound book. Opening it, she discovered it was a journal, the first few pages filled with Gavin's handwriting. "It's the story of us," he said softly. "From the first day I walked into your coffee shop until now, I thought we could continue it together, recording our life as it unfolds." Lily traced her fingers over his words, deeply moved by the thoughtfulness of the gift. "It's perfect, thank you." They returned from their honeymoon to a new chapter in their lives. While Lily maintained her independence with the coffee shop, she and Gavin found increasingly meaningful ways to collaborate professionally. The Arts Center project, now completed and thriving, became a model for their joint approach. Using Gavin's resources and influence to support community-centered initiatives that Lily often helped identify and shape. 6 months into their marriage, Lily decided to explore Deanna's offer of a partnership with her hotel. The collaboration started Small Beans and Dreams providing coffee service for the hotel's restaurant and meeting spaces, but gradually expanded to include a small café in the hotel lobby. The venture was successful enough that Deanna approached them about implementing similar arrangements in her other locations. After careful consideration, Lily and Gavin agreed to a limited expansion, maintaining strict quality control and ensuring that each new outlet maintained the warm, personal touch that had made the original Beans and Dreams so beloved. As their first anniversary approached, Lily began to feel that something was missing from their otherwise fulfilling life together. It took her several weeks to identify what it was, and when she did, she wasn't immediately sure how to bring it up with Gavin. They had discussed children in general terms before their marriage, both agreeing they wanted a family someday. But someday had remained nebulous, with their busy careers and other pursuits taking precedence. One evening, as they walked Einstein through their neighborhood park, Lily decided to broach the subject. "You ever think about having a baby?" she asked, trying to sound casual. Gavin's step faltered slightly. "Sometimes." "Why are you thinking about it?" Lily nodded, suddenly nervous. "I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I love our life together, but I feel ready for something more, something deeper." Gavin was quiet for a moment, and Lily feared he might not share her readiness. But then he smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners in the way she loved. "I think you'd be an amazing mother," he said softly. "And if you're ready, then so am I." The decision made, they approached parenthood with the same thoughtful collaboration that characterized their marriage. Lily gradually delegated more responsibility at the coffee shop to her now capable staff, while Gavin reorganized his work schedule to ensure he would be fully present during this new chapter of their lives. Nature, however, had its own timeline. After several months of trying without success, they consulted a doctor who suggested some basic fertility tests. The results were inconclusive, but suggested potential challenges. The doctor recommended continued trying with some medical support, while also discussing other options like adoption. The uncertainty was difficult for both of them, but especially for Lily, who found herself riding an emotional roller coaster of hope and disappointment each month. Gavin remained steadfastly supportive, holding her through tears and celebrating small victories. It was during this challenging period that Gavin's company faced a crisis of its own. A major investor pulled out of several projects unexpectedly, leaving Thornton Enterprises overextended financially. For the first time since they'd met, Lily saw real worry in Gavin's eyes when he talked about work. "We'll need to scale back significantly," he explained one evening. "Possibly even sell some of our holdings to shore up the rest." Lily listened attentively, offering what insight she could. "What about that office complex in the suburbs? You mentioned it's been underperforming." Gavin nodded thoughtfully. "That could work. It's not core to our mission anyway." They spent hours at the dining table, going through financial statements and property portfolios. Lily's perspective as a small business owner sometimes provided unexpected clarity, helping Gavin identify priorities that aligned with both financial necessity and the company's evolving ethical vision. By the time they went to bed, exhausted but relieved, they had outlined a viable path forward. The company would survive, though it would emerge smaller and more focused than before. "Thank you," Gavin murmured as they lay in the darkness. "I couldn't have done this without you." Lily snuggled closer to him. "That's what partners are for." The next morning, Lily woke feeling nauseous. She initially attributed it to stress from the previous night's financial discussions, but when the feeling persisted for several days, she began to wonder if it might be something else. With a mixture of hope and trepidation, she took a pregnancy test while Gavin was at work. When the result appeared, 2 clear lines indicating positive, she stared at it in disbelief, taking a second test just to be sure. That evening, she prepared Gavin's favorite meal and set the table with special care. When he arrived home, tired but more relaxed than he'd been in weeks, she greeted him with a kiss and a glass of wine. "What's the occasion?" he asked, noticing the candlelit table. Lily smiled mysteriously. "Just felt like celebrating." "The company's troubles aren't over yet," Gavin reminded her gently. "I know, but I think we could use some good news right now." She handed him a small box tied with a ribbon. Gavin opened it, looking confused when he found a tiny pair of baby shoes inside. It took a moment for understanding to dawn on his face. "Lily, are you?" She nodded, tears of joy filling her eyes. "I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." Gavin's reaction was everything she could have hoped for. He swept her into his arms, laughing and crying at the same time, his earlier worries momentarily forgotten in the face of this unexpected joy. The months that followed were a time of transformation for them both. As Lily's body changed to nurture their growing child, Gavin's company underwent its own metamorphosis, emerging leaner but with a clearer purpose focused on ethical urban development. They converted one of the penthouse's spare bedrooms into a nursery, painting the walls themselves in a weekend project that left them both speckled with yellow paint and thoroughly content. Gavin assembled the crib with determined concentration, while Lily arranged books and stuffed animals with the same attention to detail she brought to her coffee shop displays. When their daughter, Emma Margaret Thornton, arrived on a snowy December morning, she was welcomed into a family built on love, mutual respect, and the beautiful balance of 2 different worlds brought together. As Lily held her newborn daughter, with Gavin's arm wrapped protectively around them both, she marveled at the journey that had brought them here. From that first Americano with an extra shot, to this moment of pure, transcendent joy, it was a path neither of them could have predicted, but one they had ultimately walked together, step by careful step. "She has your eyes," Gavin whispered, gently touching Emma's tiny hand. "And your determination," Lily replied with a smile, as their daughter gripped her father's finger with surprising strength. In the years that followed, Beans and Dreams continued to thrive and expand thoughtfully, while Thornton Enterprises rebuilt itself with a renewed commitment to community-centered development. Emma grew into a curious, kind-hearted child who inherited her mother's creativity and her father's analytical mind. The billionaire who had walked into a coffee shop looking for a quick Americano had found something far more precious, a partner who challenged him, supported him, and loved him for himself rather than his wealth. And the coffee shop owner who had been so fiercely independent had discovered that the right partnership didn't diminish her identity, but enhanced it, allowing her to grow in ways she never could have alone. Together, they had built a life that honored both their backgrounds while creating something new and beautiful, much like the expanded coffee shop that still stood at the heart of their story, preserving its original charm while embracing new possibilities. And every morning, without fail, Gavin still stopped by Beans and Dreams for his Americano with an extra shot and a blueberry scone. But now, more often than not, he wasn't alone. He had his wife and daughter by his side. The family he never knew he needed until an auburn-haired barista had captured his heart with a simple cup of coffee and a genuine smile.